All right. Yeah, I see it now. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm back in work mode, man. So thankfully the pool closed.
There you go. What's up, Mike?
What's up, Steve? What's happening, man?
Not much, brother. I see we got everybody on.
Okay,
Mike, man, appreciate you taking the time.
Perfect time.
Yeah, perfect timing, man. You know, he's a military dude, so all he knows is to be where he's supposed to be.
Yeah. You got people counting on you, man. You got
Gotta be on point. Love it.
Your health and your time are the two biggest commodities that you got in this world, man. Don't waste any.
Oh, you starting early. I love it.
That's right. That's right.
I've been right in hot.
Jumping in hot.
Let me introduce you to my homeboy.
Quarterback. Another one looks like he plays defensive tackle, man. So what? And Steve looks like the equipment manager.
Okay. So
I
Mike,
love it.
So we got Osei, that's my guy with the Ravens jersey on, man. Me and my guy Brandon Bull. We all went to Morgan State together.
Okay.
So they Baltimore guys, I'm DC guy, but we've been friends since college. So we 20 plus years in the game, man.
All right.
And
nice.
What's crazy is this podcast essentially is a pandemic baby. We were like just doing what we do, while everybody was in the house of quarantine, and we were doing that too. But we would make time for the three of us would get together, ride bikes. I go to Baltimore, ride bikes through the city. They come to DC, we ride bikes. We frequent bars. This is when they were giving drinks out like New Orleans. You could walk around the streets with them shits. So we on the streets with our drinks. And quite honestly, I got to give Brandon the credit. He was like, yo, the same shit that we doing, we can do this shit in a podcast. We can just talk our shit. So that's kind of was the birth of Beats, Bars, and Bourbon, which is, it's our name and likeness. But we try to cover everything under the sun because we all well-versed dudes. And Beats, Bars, Bourbon, and Boxing just sounded so nice together. You know what I mean? It sounded so nice together, man. And, I got to say this just to kind of level set.
You could add another B on there at some point. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
Listen, there's so many B's you can put in there.
But, go ahead, boy. What you was going to say?
I was about to say there's so many other B's we can put in there, man. But boxing, bourbon, whatever sounds clever.
We exactly. So just a real quick story. Like I met Mike in Dallas back in, I want to say 2019. It was the Errol Spence, Mikey Garcia fight. And he was the CutMan for Chris Areola, which was one of the undercard fights, right? So crazy thing is Chris Areola's on the floor, people, trying to talk to Chris. And me and Mike just kind of kicked up a conversation real casually, just chatting. So after about like 45 minutes to an hour, I'm like, man, this dude cool as shit. You know what I'm saying? He like, yo, just on the low, we're going to be in DC soon. One of my fighters, J-Rock, Julian Williams, he going to be in DC.
Told you.
You did. He like, he going to be fighting Jared Hurd for the belt. I'm like, damn, for real? He like, look, don't say nothing. But listen, I'll be in the city. I got you. I said, all right, first thing I'm thinking is, man, that's Hollywood. You know what I mean? He's not going to do this. We'll see. But the energy was good. So I'm telling my boy, Carl Muhammad, the homie was with me. He was like, yo, what you think? I said, man, he a real dude. I think he's solid on his word. We get there, go to roll call. He in the town. He like, yeah, Steve, I got you there. Whatever. Floor seats. We floor seats right there in front of the ring. Jared Hurd, J-Rock fight. You know what I mean? Quarterback of the fight. Stayed in touch. Caught up just recently in Vegas when he was doing the Ugas Errol Spence fight. He was CutMan for that fight. So me and my guy been in contact regularly. You know what I'm saying? So stand-up dude, man. And I appreciate you taking some time out, Mike, to talk to me and my boys on our podcast, man, just to chop it up, brother. So for me, man.
Of course, man. It's good for me too, man, because one thing about me that you guys will learn about me, and I've been a cop for a long time. So, people think, oh, cops just have a certain way of thinking. And I'm a little bit different than your average guy because I really don't run with the consensus, but everybody else. I got, I got a lot of opinions on a lot of different things. So I like to surround myself with people with varying degrees of differences and like-mindedness as well, because I think that's important too. But if you're only getting your information from certain people and from certain outlets, it always taints, your judgment and the dialogue that you could have with people. So that's kind of the way I am, man. I get along and I'm comfortable around all kinds of different people, man. It don't matter to me.
No question.
Can I jump in real fast, man? First of all, thank you, brother, for being here with us guys today, man. Taking time out your busy day. I just got to know one question. Have you ever had to stitch somebody up that was so nasty that you just didn't want to do that shit?
Okay, so when you say stitch, as a cut man, I don't know how to stitch anybody up.
You look like the stitch guy, man. You just look like it.
But I'm a cut man. I stop the stuff, but once the fight's over, man, I don't have. They got doctors for that.
Ain't no stitching in the corner, boy.
People were like, "Yep." I said, "I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to stitch you." They're like, "But you're a cut man." Or somebody's like, "Hey, did you cut him to make it better?" I was like, "Man, that's Rocky, man. That's like you may as well watch Looney Tunes with Wiley."
Hey, but look, that and listen, hey, boy, that's what I appreciate, man. Like we gonna keep it honest. We asking honest questions. We're trying to understand.
Yeah.
Which is one of the things I want to get it into is like, and Mike, I gotta say this, bro. You're a humble cat, but you were a damn good heavyweight yourself, right? You boxed in the Golden Gloves, right? Am I mistaken by that? Right, boxing the Golden Gloves, and right now you're most notably.
I used to do a little something,
A little something in the ring, you know what I mean? Heavyweight, you know what I mean?
I'm a lover now, not a fighter. I'm not even good at that, probably. So, what the hell?
Hey, that DC story, I ain't gonna never forget what you told us when we was out there.
Which one was that?
No, I ain't gonna bring it up. It's off-camera topic. But, right, now, but on the serious side, like you're most notably known for being arguably the best cut man in the boxing business. You know what I mean? And your resume speaks for itself. I mean, you're talking about, a guy that's been in the ring, who's boxed, and now was a cut man from everybody from Manny Pacquiao to most recently Dimitri Bivol. But you just recently did a fight too, though, right? Like,
yeah, I did Virgil Ortiz. I did Sergey Lipinets. Over the weekend, I did Abner Mares and Joey Spencer. I got about, between my son and I, we got about, 45, 50 guys worldwide. I've done everything. It's crazy. Hey, look at the welterweight. Crazy. I've had Uga. I've had Spence. I got Virgil Ortiz. I got Stanionis right now, who's the WBA champ. I had Sean Porter. The crappy
Sean Porter.
The crappy thing is sometimes these guys have to fight each other, man, and you got to make decisions like, well, who am I going to work with?
Yeah, let me stop you right there. So what usually prompts you to make your decision when it comes to that?
Well, Wild Card is my home gym with Freddie Roach. I'm blessed that I'm part of that whole family. It's close to me. I go back a long way with Freddie, and I work with the majority of the fighters out of there. But when push comes to shove, I factor that in, and that's what Wild Card guys are a portion of the guys that I work with. But usually, if push comes to shove, then I'm gonna say, okay, well, who have I been with longer? Who has hired every fight? Who's hired me every fight without any interruption, or like me, hired me for 2 fights, and they said, "Oh, Mike, we're not going to go with the cut man this time." Okay, or we're hiring this guy, or we got that guy. So I factor all that in. I can usually make the decision at face value pretty. It's like, I would never go against Breadman and J-Rock. I just right. Wouldn't. There isn't a scenario.
Right.
Hey, guys, I got a nosy question. What kind of money do you make a year doing this, man?
Man,
I just want to know, man.
Man, he is nosy, man. Jeez.
Yeah.
Hey, good money. Tell him, Mike, good money.
I'll say this. There's no coincidence that you probably see the same 5 7 guys, could even shrink that, that can make a living at this.
Yeah.
You're talking about Stitch Duran. You're talking about Danny Milano, Mike Basil, Rudy Hernandez, Carlos Vargas. You look at most of the fights, myself, you'll usually see one of them or myself in the corner. I'm at a point now, probably the last 7-8 years, where I can make a living at it. I'm going to work a fight Saturday, man, with one of Freddie Roach's guys, Vic Darchinian's nephew, I believe. But he's not making much money. He's just starting out. I'll probably make $75, $100.
Yeah.
When you work big fights, I'm talking like mega fights, you know, you could make upwards between 20 and 30 grand for a night.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Mike,
so,
you know, the great thing is that you still, and I know you, bro, you give the same level of commitment and effort to the $75 fight.
I say that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because
dope, man. Dope.
I work a 4-round club fight in a smoky ball with the same enthusiasm. I work with Dimitri Bivol or Pacquiao, you know, or J-Rock, because those fights to those guys mean the same thing as it does fighters fighting in those mega fights. Because in order to get to the fights, I remember working with J-Rock when he just started. And it's a funny story because the bread man, Stephen Edwards, one of my best friends, not just in boxing, but in life. Brilliant boxing mind. He's a great trainer. They were fighting out in California when Julian was like 1 or 2-0, and they needed an opponent. I was actually training a local kid that was more of a club fighter, tough kid. And they called me and he says, hey, man, he tried to sandbag me. He's like, hey, I got this kid. I'm really not sure about him, but we'd like to. I already know that they're looking to whoop my dude's ass. I said they were going to fight at the Chumash on a Showbox undercard. And Chumash is up by Santa Barbara, so it's only like 2 hours from LA. So I said, hey, my guy's already booked for a fight the week before. I says, but do you guys need a cut man? He goes, well, yeah, you know, we don't get to bring a cut man at this level for preliminary fights. You know, it's usually fighter and the trainer and maybe other trainer. They ain't paying for the whole team to fly, eat, and sit up in a hotel for a week. He says, yeah. So I said, well, I could do your cuts. And I was working cuts already. I'd worked it for a few years. I was kind of doing both at the time. So he said, yeah. So I worked Julian's fight, you know, and the rest is history. I've been with him now, you know, for 11 years. I've worked more fights with J-Rock, you know, and Breadman than I have with anybody. The point I'm making is, you know, Julian wasn't making that much money being 2-0, 3-0. You know, he's barely making ends meet. I really don't want to take much money from him. There wasn't much he had. But you never know who that next guy is. And he eventually, you know, his title reign didn't last, you know, the way as long as we wanted it to, but at least he became $1 million fighter.
Damn right. I know that. And listen, I know you, Mike. I know I could see that fight was one of the first time in my life. First of all, I've never been that close to the fight with someone in the ring that I knew, you know what I'm saying? But I could see when he won that fight, he whipped Jared's ass. He whipped his ass that night.
I have big respect for Jared. Jared had a nice
yeah, he was an off night, man.
There was everything that I knew in the locker room, we were going to win that fight.
Yeah. He whipped his ass, but I could see your joy, your excitement. I was like, yo, that's his man for real. He's Philly kid too. J-Rock, Philly kid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
LA to hook up with a lot of Philly fighters. I've worked with a lot of Philly fighters, man. I've worked with Gabe Rosado. I've worked with Eric Hunter. I've worked with Tevin Farmer, Karan Davis from Wilmington, Delaware. I've worked with a bunch of Philly fighters. Yes, Philly is like, believe it or not, for boxing, like a second home, because once they see you with a couple of different guys, the Philly community,
right?
They embrace me now. You know, I don't got to go for work over there.
Right.
I got
a question for you, Mike.
Sure, man.
Right now, between 135 and 140, you got a ton of fighters. Man, and I was watching Isak Cruz this past weekend.
Yeah,
he whipped the kid's ass, man. I like Cruz a lot, You know, Javante's from Baltimore, so I'm a big, huge Javante.
Huge Javante fan.
So between 135 and 140, give me a couple of your favorite guys, because there's a ton of fighters in those classes.
Yeah, it's a great division because you have Isak Cruz. You obviously have Devin Haney, who's a WBC champ.
Devin's a beast.
Yeah, Devin is a beast. Teofimo Lopez is floating around in there. You got Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
You got and you're talking about 140 guys too, man. You got to remember, you still have Regis Prograis around there. You have John, you know, people are starting to not sleep on that stuff. You got Michelle Rivera from the Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I like that kid, little Ali kid. Yeah.
It was fun.
And you got Gary Antoine Russell from DC.
Antoine Russell is a real problem. You saw my boy Sergey Lipinets when he knocked out Omar Figueroa a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
His only losses are to Mikey Garcia and to Jaron Ennis, and he went up with Jaron Ennis to welterweight just because it was an opportunity, but he's not a welterweight. I mean, you're right. You got Gary Antoine Russell. I mean, he's a real problem there.
Yeah.
And you got a ton of guys. The issue now is fight each other.
Right. That's what I was about to say. How do we make these guys fight, man?
And you know, that's the problem, man. And here's the thing, and I don't want to offend any fighters because I grew up in an era with Duran, Leonard, Benitez, Hagler, Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
And you went to the next era of Curry, McCallum, Lloyd Hunnigan, Buddy McGirt, you know, Mark Breland, Marlon.
Mark Breland was a beast.
Mark Breland.
Yeah. And then you transition to that next area with the Meldrick Taylors and Pernell Whitakers. Then you then transition into like the De La Hoyas, Pacquiao's, Trinidad's, you know, Ando Vargas's, you know, Ike Cortez, and then just so on. It's like a river that keeps flowing.
Mm-hmm.
But all those guys that I just mentioned, the rule rather than the exception, they fought each other.
That's right.
But Buddy McGirt fought Meldrick Taylor twice. He fought Pernell Whitaker. People can talk all this shit they want about Oscar De La Hoya. Maybe he hasn't made the greatest choices in his personal life, and maybe he exposes himself to certain things. Okay, but he didn't miss anybody.
Damn
Oscar
right.
fought everybody. He fought everybody.
He didn't miss anybody.
He ducked nobody.
And people really remember Oscar for like the welterweight of 47. They don't realize all the dudes that he fought from 30 to 35. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know what, Mike, to add to your point, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
now,
you're good.
I remember vividly how the Mexican community would not embrace Oscar early on because he was from East LA. And, you know, they embraced the more grimier, hardworking guys, fighters. And Oscar he got that embrace eventually because he fought everybody.
Yeah.
When you look at discrimination and even racism in our society, you always have to, you guys can relate to this. There's prejudices within our own race.
100%.
Right?
Deep.
Right? You
That's
know,
right.
you're black, like, oh, homeboy, he's not hood. You know, he grew up around white people, or, you know, he talks white, like somehow that's a bad thing, you know?
Right.
When
you're articulate, right.
Yeah. So when you're Mexican and you grow up, like I grew up in California, my family's been here for 3 generations. My grandparents weren't from Mexico. They were from here. They were Mexican. We're proud of being Mexican. My grandparents spoke Spanish, but see, I didn't learn to communicate with them in Spanish. Why? Because they spoke English. Experience where you have my own people, Mexicans, kind of like what they did to De La Hoya, where they kind of hate on you a little bit, like, oh, you're not Mexican enough. You know what I mean? It's the little weird dynamics and the weird little intricacies in our own little society where we'll hate on each other. I remember when I got into the boxing thing, because Southern California, LA, I mean, most of your trainers here are Mexican. A lot of them have Mexican roots. And I'm not going to say they hated on me, but they didn't openly embrace me. My work had to speak for myself. My character person had to reveal itself before. Oh, now it's like, oh, hey, Mike, how are you? You know,
Right.
The vape was
The out the mud.
My dad always told me, like, talent always reveals itself for the good and for the bad. It'll always reveal. That's why I love boxing, and I love all sports, guys. I could talk to you about baseball, basketball, football. I'm equal. I mean, I've coached and played all of them. But boxing is the one sport where the ring always tells the truth. I don't care. I don't care how much shit you're wolfing. I don't care how much you're saying this is the best training camp I've ever had. And it ain't lie to you.
And look, I'll say this.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say one thing about boxing, because I like all sports, but somebody, I can't remember who said this, but it was funny and it was real. They said that if you saw two regular guys playing basketball on the street, you wouldn't stop and watch it. But anybody who saw two guys fighting are gonna stop and watch the fight. And I said, damn, that's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah. Boxing is the most sport where the public has the most access. If you guys came to LA and you said, you know what, I want to go to a boxing gym, you could pay your $5. It's $5. And you could go to Wild Card Gym where Freddie's at. And you could pay your $5 and work out. And you can work out with pro fighters that you see on TV. You could go in there and take pictures and everybody would be very accommodating to you. You can't go to the Lakers facility or the Celtics facility and say, hey, man, I want to go over there with LeBron. And I want to take some pictures, or I want to go shoot baskets next to him.
Oh, no.
That's a fact.
Yo, let me say this,
right.
Then, Mike. That's what I've realized, because you obviously I go to a lot of fights. You know, me and Muhammad, my buddy, we always do this. And more than anything, boxers easily are the most just welcoming guys. The community itself, like I've met Dave Benavidez, so many guys. Like I've hung out with guys.
Dave Benavidez will sit there and talk to you for an hour. I've known Davis since he was a 280-pound 13-year-old.
Yeah, big boy, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the community is so like welcoming and easygoing and easy to talk to.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, that's that. There's something that's rooted in boxers that I've realized is like, yo.
Because you have to, it's a very humbling,
bingo
sport.
Yeah. You have to be rooted in knowing that I can get my ass whipped at any point in time.
And the fact of the matter is, boxing, in the end, for the most fighters, a lot of the fighters, is going to break your heart in the end.
Hey, Steve, what's the kid name from out of DC? He has a twin brother and he has a belt.
A twin brother?
I think he has a twin.
I think you're talking about the Russell brothers.
He's talking about Gary Antoine Russell. Yeah, the Russell boys. Osage was talking about him a second ago.
Funny enough, we went to the tank fight that was at the Baltimore Arena, at the Royal Farms Arena. And that kid that you're talking about was in line with me, in front of me, jewelry on and everything. I thought that was like one of the most humblest things I've seen ever. I would think that a guy of that stature could have probably gotten through the side door, been there a little earlier, or, VIP status. This dude walked in with the regular crowd in Baltimore. That's when I said, wow.
Yeah. And you'll definitely see that. And I think that's why the relationships I have forged in this sport, it's crazy because I'm not going to say I'm an old guy, but I've been around a little bit, and some of
Mike, you old as shit.
I am. I'm going to be 57, but it's crazy because
you're looking good for 57, man.
You're a young guy, man. Young guy.
You're a gym rat, man. You're a gym rat.
Young guy.
If I showed you guys pictures of my dad and my mom, you guys wouldn't believe they're my parents, man. That's how good my parents look. I just never really stopped training, man. I'm always trying to do something. Every day I'm trying to put money in the bank because, tomorrow, man, is not promised. I've been a homicide detective in LA for almost 20 years. I've been a cop for 4 years, man. I've seen that people's lives change, in an instant.
Yeah.
Well, check it out, Mike. Spinning it back to that side of it. I'm glad you went there, man. This is amazing. Now, on that front, I did have a question for you. Like, what do you think right now about this, about where we are in society with law enforcement? Like, because you know, like in one breath, I see historically Republicans have been pro law enforcement, right? And have historically have been pro law enforcement. But very recently, it seems like, you know, with this FBI raid of Trump's Mar-a-Lago and, you know, some other things that I've seen, like a lot of the just say MAGA Republicans, and I won't lump all Republicans in one, you know, big generality. But it seems like they're less pro law enforcement than they used to be. Well, I'm just curious of what somebody in law enforcement thinks about this whole thing.
You got to remember, man, there's 50 states, so each state kind of has their own culture when you think of law enforcement. In Los Angeles, we're kind of considered the NFL, the major leagues of Los Angeles. I've been blessed to work at Sheriff's Homicide. It's a very storied, tradition-rich unit where we're considered one of the best in the world. You look at LAPD's robbery homicide unit. I mean, they've made movies and documentaries about both of those units.
Yes.
The one thing that I've learned the last few years that I've never been a political person, but I have to be a self-aware person, and I have to pay attention. To me, it all comes down to politics. And the problem politics. It's a full contact sport. You can see that, man. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So the problem is, if I could just digress just for a second, and I feel like this. I was in the military. I've been a cop for 34 years. I believe in law and order, but I believe that you treat people fairly, that you examine each incident on its own merits, weaknesses, or strengths. Here's the problem, in my opinion. This is just Mike Rodriguez talking. Everybody, not everybody. You have people that go to the extremes. You have extreme left liberals, right? That they're sometimes their narrative is already written. Doesn't matter what they see. You got people on the extreme right. Doesn't matter what they see. Everybody's there to serve their own narrative or dialogue. I don't do that. When I see a police shooting, and I investigate police shootings for a living. That's what I do. Part of being a homicide detective in Los Angeles is we investigate officer-involved shootings. I have seen things on the news that may give the impression of one thing. And I always tell people, wait, let's hear out all the facts. If you're not waiting to hear facts, if you don't want to hear facts, what does that tell you about somebody? When you want to explain to them facts, but they don't want to hear it. It means
they got their minds made up.
They're on the
already have, and if you already have your mind made up, and this is why I try to, like I said, talking to you guys, I try to, the things that I ingest into my life, I want it to be well-rounded. Because if you guys hang out with the same guys that only think like you, that rabbit hole starts deeper.
Yeah.
Indeed.
If you watch the news and social media, you would think that everybody in this world hates each other. But you go to the market, you could go to a park, and granted, there are incidents, there are flare-ups. That's society in general.
Right.
We get along half as bad as the media wants us to believe, and social media wants us to believe. Because why? What do we always see? We see the bad of this. We see the bad of that. Right?
Facts.
And if you're already making your mind up about something, then you already have preconceived prejudices and notions. How can you be open-minded? How can you be objective? You know, something that I say, and when I catch a homicide case, is that I always say something like, we're in the early stages of this. I'm keeping an open mind. I'm keeping all of my investigative options open. And I'm not ruling anything out, because the facts will always play out. Now, in a society, do you have bad apples in law enforcement? Yeah. You got bad apples and politicians. It covers all genre of life. So I don't ever get offended when people say, well, man, I hate cops. Cops are this and that. You know why? Because I know they're not talking about me.
Bingo.
Talking about,
Hey,
I'd probably.
hey, Mike. Hey, Mike. Do you know anything, or what is it that you know, from being a cop? Do you know anything about Baltimore? Have you heard anything about Baltimore?
You know, one of the greatest homicide books ever written that ended up being the basis for The Wire is the book Homicide by David Simon.
David Simon, yeah.
Probably written in the late 80s, early 90s. But if you ever get a chance to read that book, for me, man, it kind of changed. There were certain books that I've read that kind of changed my life. And, I knew early on, and it wasn't that I had any kind of affinity or obsession with dead bodies. People think because you work homicide. No, because that's where the best of the best of the best detectives, it was an elite unit. In the undisputed champion of your weight division. When you go there on our department and around, people just treat you different, Work sheriff's homicide. I got people that outrank me that call me sir.
Wow.
Level of
respect factor
for where I work.
Right.
And I always try to approach that in a humble manner. I've been running the homicide school, the 2-week homicide school for the state of California. I'm the lead instructor for the last 12 years. So I get a lot of the new.
And cheers to that, man.
Thank you.
Cheers to that, man.
So, and if you guys are ever out this way, man, stop by as a guest, man, and take a look at it. It's a 2-week curriculum for brand new and aspiring homicide detectives. These people are all very seasoned cops already. The one thing that I always stress is because every society, every framework of society has a certain culture. I don't in one, and I get this from my dad. My dad was a Vietnam veteran, very successful in life, very, very smart man. And the great thing about this is me and my dad have just seemed like over our adult years, we never find that connection. And we recently did for a variety of reasons, and I'm blessed. And it's funny because sometimes I had convinced myself like, well, I am the way I am in spite of my dad. And then I kind of thought, you know what, man? No, you are the way you are because of your dad. Hang on one second. I'm going to turn this light on. And
that's deep.
Just being self-aware that things in your life that happen and pursuing, biggest thing, man, is pursue what you want to do. Do what you love. Think about this.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, I don't say this to brag. I say this for context. I get to work at a very high level at my job at Sheriff's Homicide in LA. I get to work with some of the biggest and brightest stars in boxing. I get to work with the best trainers. I get to stay at the best hotels. I get to do two things that I love. And I get to earn a very good living doing it. And I always tell people, if I can do it, why can't you? I always tell my young fighters, especially ones that are transitioning out of boxing because maybe their career's over. Anybody ask me for advice? Hey, Mike, can you help this person out? Absolutely. And then I look at them and I always tell them this. You look at other people that are successful, and I always tell them, like, why not me? Why not? The problem, because of social media now, everybody wants instant gratification. They're mistaking activity for achievement.
Man, hold up. Time out.
Yeah, run it back.
They mistaken again, Mike. They mistaken what?
They mistake activity for achievement.
Oh man. Mike, listen. Well, now we got. That's a mean line, man. But look,
I like that one.
Hold on, I stole that because if you look at the John Wooden, the great basketball coach at UCLA of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Walton.
Oh, he had a million of them.
Good. Look at John Wooden's pyramid of success.
Here we go.
Be quick, but don't hurry.
Damn right. So look, let me say this. Here's the thing, man, and this is a question I've been dying to ask you as long as I've known you. Like, what was your first passion? Did you want to be a boxer or did you want to be a cop?
My dad was a cop for a few years before he went into the private sector. Boxing was something that was there since I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
I boxed. I remember sitting in my garage on cold nights, hitting this hard ass heavy bag. And my mom's car was parked in there, so you can see the reflection in the mirror. So I'd shadow box. I'd hit the and you know, when you're a kid, you dream. You dream.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
And my younger brother, who's a little bit more introverted than me, used to tease me and make me like, I knew when he was coming, I would literally commentate a fight, or I'd pick up a baseball bat and I would commentate a baseball or a football game. I thought I was going to do three things in this world. I thought I was going to be a cop. I thought I was going to be a fighter. And I thought I would get into broadcasting.
Mm.
And I've had now to even flirt with the broadcasting thing. And I don't want to jinx it, but some folks from A&E have reached out to me, and I'm in some discussions with some other people here in Hollywood.
Ooh, nice.
About a couple things. I'm a knock on wood. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But it's about pursuing what you love to do. The great thing about what I do is I think I've kind of bridged them together, because some of the things that make me great as a CutMan come from maybe what makes me good at what I do as a homicide detective. But those
I was going to say that, Mike. Like you know, so obviously this was you had more than one passion growing up as a kid. I was going to say, what's the interconnection for you as it relates to what translates well in the ring? You know, from a homicide detective in the ring, and vice versa.
Let me
Quality
explain.
time.
That's a fantastic question, Steve. Because as you know, I want you guys to watch the next fights that you watch. And I want you to watch something. When that bell rings and that fighter sits down, that clock is already ticking. You're already in 3 or 4 seconds of that minute, and they're going to get you out of there 10 seconds before the bell comes back. You got very tight space. You got a fighter that's in a tough fight. They're cut. They're swollen. They're breathing. You're in tight confines. It can make a lot of people nervous. It's a nerve-wracking situation.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up with my dad, being in the military, playing athletics, being a fighter, being a cop for 34 years, I'm blessed. Things actually slow down for me. I welcome. I don't ever want my fighters to get hurt or cut. But when they do, and this is one thing I love about my son, because he's been doing it now about 10 years, and he is every bit as fantastic in stopping a cut as any cuts that I've ever stopped. He can do an equal job. And he's already done stuff on his own and worked with a couple of world champions. Things slow down. And when things can slow down for you, the great ones, I'm not saying me, man, I'm just a CutMan, man. I'm a guy that gets to do what I love. I'm talking about the great ones, man. Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Derek Jeter, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure. Muhammad Ali. You look at Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. I'm talking about great. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Things slow down. You guys know about athletics.
Yeah.
That kid that now in his third year, what do they always say? Things are slowing down for him. Quarterbacks. You guys know that, right?
Thomas Brady.
Things start to slow down.
They start to slow down. Yeah.
Start to slow down. You don't have that paralysis by analysis. It's be quick, but don't hurry. You can start better decisions, because it's like that of being a cop. The worst thing you can do is being a cop out in the streets is to get tunnel vision. It's hard not to get tunnel vision. But it's like working the streets, man. When you work the streets as a cop, at first, man, you're just like, and then pretty soon as you gain more experience, things start to slow down for you.
Start to slow down.
Okay.
I still remember the first day that I got to ride by myself, not with my training officer, 30 years ago. I remember all I wanted to do was get from one call to the next without screwing it up. And then pretty soon you start seeing things a little bit more globally. And I just think it comes with experience. And that's the thing. People today, they want to be famous. They want to be rich, but they don't even know what the hell they want to be famous for. I want to be well known and well respected for the things that I do, first and foremost by the people that I serve, which is the people that I serve in my community as a cop, my fighters and my trainers. You want to have that respect of them and your peers. When you're looking at accolades, and there's a Bible verse about chasing or worshiping idols,
False idols.
false idols, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's not going to get you. That's like that path of least resistance. You know where that leads? I got you, Steve. You know where the path of least resistance goes? Nowhere.
That's right.
Nowhere. So it's kind of my mindset. And that's why Abner Mars gave me a good compliment the other night. I've worked with Abner before when he fought Leo Santa Cruz the first time.
Okay.
When the Showtime comment.
Both amazing.
I was Virgil Ortiz because Manny Robles was training him and Abner was training in the same gym. You know, and Abner goes, "Hey, Mike, I want you in my corner." So I was in his corner. After the fight, I said, "Hey, Abner, man, good job, man. You've been off for 4 years." He looked at me and he says, "You know, Mike, thank you. You were such a professional in the way you approach things." He goes, "And I really appreciate that. You got too many guys, man. Watch all these guys around the team. Watch some of the guys in the corner. You got cornermen wearing sunglasses. They're making I'm old school, man. When it comes time to fight time, I don't want any of those folks around with their phones and this is somebody's brother or their buddy. Man, I just want the guys that are working the corner. But you know, it's
let's do the work. Do the work.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, and look, with another thing, man, like, you know, and I know this has been a great discussion. I'm so, again, like I said, just being able to sit there and talk to you, man, about your many experiences. But the one thing I haven't heard you talk about is your affinity for hip hop, which I know you are a big fan.
I wanted to get there, man.
Okay. So just put it this way. Because I'm third generation Mexican, and my family didn't have a lot of Mexican roots, even though my grandparents listened to Mexican music. My dad was that guy in the military that was real cool with all the black guys. Okay. So I grew up listening to the Dramatics, Harold Melvin.
Oh shit.
Okay.
I grew up listening to that. And then when you transition that music from the 70s, you know, and then you start getting into like the more funk, you know, like with old school Kool and the Gang and, you know, Cameo before they kind of, once Cameo made Candy, man, they were done, man. They were right. After Attack Me With Your Love and Single Life, man, after that, I was.
Oh my God, Mike, he know what he's talking about over here.
You know, once Kool and the Gang made Celebration and it was no longer Hollywood Swinging and Jungle Boogie, man, I'm like, man, I'm done.
Yeah.
I remember this, you know, Lenny Williams, man, talk about it. And I listened to Television till Television went off. You know what I mean? If you guys know that song.
Right.
Lenny Williams, the lead singer of Tower of Power. Man, you guys are getting into my wheelhouse now, man. You guys.
Yes,
Come on, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
But look, what I want to ask you is, so your era of like we're talking about like real sound, real music. You know what I mean? Like different age, different eras. Like
early 70s, mid 70s, early 80s, mid 80s, early 90s, and that's why now I'll hear some of these songs that my sons listen to, and I'm like, I hear another song in there.
You hear that sample? Right.
Oh yeah,
you hear that sample?
You guys like old school, like Teddy Pendergrass and stuff. I mean, you guys have,
of course,
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm gonna peep you guys out on something that you guys probably never even heard of. Okay. You remember the song "Lady" by Kenny Rogers? The song "Lady,"
Lady,
right? A huge hit. That song was originally written for Teddy Pendergrass.
Wow.
He never recorded it. He gave it to Kenny Rogers. But I want when we're done, I want you guys to text me or send me a message. I want you guys to Google Teddy Pendergrass, "Lady." And there's a 5-minute and 20-second YouTube video of him singing "Lady" in London, England. Live.
Wow, that's a nugget right there.
Oh, that's a nugget.
I have never in my life been so moved by a song in my whole entire life. The only other song that moves me as much as that is "Still a Young Man" by Tower of Power. Because I always tell people when I die, when they're lowering me in the dirt, right, and everybody's whatever they're doing, I want that song by "Still a Young Man" by Tower of Power to be playing.
I love that. I love that. And see, Mike, I'm a record producer, so like I write songs. I do tracks, all of that. So I love music trivia.
And I'm a Facebook singer. I put the song in the back. And there's just, I mean, if you listen to the whole Car Wash by Rolls Royce album.
Come on, man. Talk to us.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
Hold up, Mike. Slow down. So here's what I want you to do. Because on Beats, Bars, and Bourbon, we're fans of top 5 lists, right? So we love to give our top 5s. So I want you to give us 2 top 5s. I want your top 5 artists from the 70s and early 80s. And then I also want your top 5, not boxers, but people who call the fights. Because you talked about Abner Mares. Abner Mares calls a lot of fights. One of my favorites calling fights is Freddie Pacheco, Bernie Pacheco out of Florida. Like
fancy, Freddie Pacheco.
Oh, yes. Come on, give it to us.
All right, so the 70s is going to be the Dramatics.
Okay.
Yes.
Going to be the OJs.
Okay.
Kool and the Gang. It's going to be Tower of Power, Marvin Gaye.
There we go.
That's tough right there. That's tough. Mike.
I go to the 80s. I mean, I got the Gap Band.
How man?
Mm-hmm.
The Gap Band. I got Rick James.
Monster musician.
The kid from Buffalo.
You're going to love this. Rick James had a white dude in the band.
Of course.
Okay. His nephew worked with me.
Oh. And look, Rick James ain't played, so I know he was bad.
That white guy's dad in the band was my kid's crossing guard at school, and then his grandson and I worked together on the sheriff's department.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So Gap Band.
Rick James.
You got Midnight Star, man. Come on.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, you going in.
Midnight.
He's going all the way in.
He's going in. You going in, Mike.
And then from Cleveland, Ohio, you got the Daz Band.
I thought you were going to say I thought you were going to say
I still got
Ohio players.
Ohio Players.
Ohio players.
That's
70s. Ohio Players 70s.
Yeah, that's early.
Or 70s.
Okay.
And I'm talking, believe me, I love them too. We're
talking about heyday. We're talking about that heyday. So
yeah.
Ohio Players heyday was definitely the 70s.
I think about my teenage years, I'm thinking about the Gap Band, Burn Rubber, outstanding, Drop the Bomb on Me early in the morning. I mean, Yearning for Your Love, one of my top 5 hits all time.
Classic.
Mike was number 5. Was number 5, Mike?
Man. Number 5. So I got Midnight Star, I got the Gap Band, I got the Daz Band, I got Rick James. Oh man, there's just like a combination of group. I love the Barkays.
Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson.
What?
Ooh.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Roger and Zapp was good. I mean, God. You got.
Hold on. Parliament Funkadelic was nowhere to be found.
Yeah, but here's the one thing with them. They were kind of 70s and 80s.
They were.
They were like really extreme punk.
I knew he was gonna go there with it. Like,
they were extreme.
Yeah.
Hold up. But before you lose your train of thought, please give me the other list of boxing analysts who call fights. Please give me that.
Gil Clancy. Bertie
The
Pacheco.
beast.
Barry Tompkins. Barry Tompkins was one of the original HBO announcers. Barry's a great friend of mine.
Okay.
Barry's he's a good, him and Steve Farhood have done a lot of great things on Showbox. Let me see here. Larry Merchant obviously is
Merchant.
Larry's a beast.
I had a great conversation with Larry Merchant one time in Orlando, Florida, man, with some like OGs, like the Colonel Bob Sheridan. Sheridan. He's one of them. I mean, those guys.
Man. Jesus.
I grew up with them, and then I get to sit there and have breakfast with them, and we didn't even talk boxing. We talked baseball because I love baseball.
Unbelievable.
That's the best shit right there.
Hold up. Remember Larry Merchant told Floyd Mayweather, if I was 50 years young, I would kick your ass.
Kick your ass.
Floyd still would have whipped his ass. God bless him, but Larry couldn't bust a grape with combat boots, man.
Damn! Larry meant that shit when he said it too.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. On the George Lopez show last month, his podcast, and we talked about all kinds of things. But what's crazy is we got to baseball, and George is a huge baseball guy. I'm a huge baseball guy, so I started bringing up all kinds of stuff from the '70s, and he was just like shocked. The co-host was like, "Damn, George, we found somebody that knows more about baseball than you do." I mean, I was bringing up all kinds of stuff from players from the '70s and stuff. It just, you know, '70s and '80s were so good to me. I mean, I remember so much about those things.
And you know what's crazy? The power hitters in the 70s and 80s were hitting 35 home runs and 95 RBIs. Stuff is so skewed now.
Yeah,
that you lose sight of how great those guys were.
And I'm going to tell you 3 of them in the 70s that were my favorites, and they were badass. You talk about power hitters. Jim Rice from the Red Sox.
Ooh, he's a beast.
The Cobra Dave Parker from the Pirates, who should be
yes.
And drawing a blank here. Why am I drawing a blank? Oh, George Foster from the Reds.
Ooh.
George Foster.
If I had to name, let me jump in. I got to jump in. If I had to name my 3 power hitters in baseball, I'm gonna go, at least for me watching baseball, be Ken Griffey Jr.
Okay. Junior was a monster.
Absolutely. Sammy Sosa. I don't care. I don't give a fuck about the steroids. None of that.
No, we ain't going Sammy. We are not going Sammy. Sammy had he had an A.
Chicago Cub.
He had that A.
Chicago Cub. I'm gonna do that. And number 3, Andre the Hulk Dawson, baby. My guy. Love it.
Andre Dawson was a beast.
Yeah.
Hold up. I'm gonna give you. Hold on. Wait. I'm from Baltimore, so I'm gonna give you Eddie Murray. And you know, Eddie was a monster.
Greatest switch hitter of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
Where's Eddie Murray from?
He's from LA. He's from Cali. He's from LA, right?
Who is his high school teammate?
Who, you?
Ozzie.
Oh, yeah?
Get out of here.
One of the greatest shortstops of all time. Ozzie Smith and Eddie Murray were high school.
Get out of here. They were high school teammates.
Wow.
I remember Eddie Murray was so good in the early 80s, but he would never make he would never start in the All-Star game because of Ron Carew.
So you remember, how old are you?
I'm 48.
Okay. So when they played the Pirates in the 78 World Series, 78 or 79? 79.
Okay.
A guy from my little league was on the Orioles. He was older than me. And he would have won the MVP, but the Pirates came back. His name was Kiko Garcia. He was a utility.
Kiko Garcia, goddamn it.
Kiko Garcia. He played in my little league. He's older than me, obviously. And Kiko Garcia would have got the MVP. But I think they ended up giving them, when the Pirates won, they ended up giving it to Willie Stargell.
Wow, that's crazy.
I can pretty much name, you had, the whole Orioles lineup, man. You had like Al Bumbry, you had
Rick Dempsey,
you had Jim Palmer. I mean, you had Mark Belanger. I mean, you had a lot. I mean, I remember all the.
Oh, you a beast. If you know all these guys,
he's a nut.
And you're not even an Oriole fan, I know you know everything about that era in baseball. I already know. I can tell.
Let me ask you this though, Mike. I can't help but notice the fact that you got the War Tape T-shirt on.
That T-shirt. I was going to say something about the T-shirt.
So listen,
the T-shirt is fire.
Say this. So
I'll be right back, fellas. 1 sec.
In addition to Mike being, a decorated homicide detective for 30 years, or I know he was a cop, and whatever, but for the most part, 30 years in the game is who he is. He's arguably the best cut man in the business right now. I don't care what nobody say. Mike.
I just want to be included with the top guys because I have respect.
You're there, brother. You're there. And listen, the TV shows it, because when the big fights come on, I see you. You know what I'm saying? He's also affiliated, and I'll let him speak to that, with War Tape, which is easily, at the very least, the most popular tape used by fighters right now. I see La Hoya, Manny Pacquiao.
I've seen it.
All the big guys, Earl Spence, these guys are using War Tape. Mike, talk to us about what it is that you are as it relates to War Tape and its origin today.
Okay.
Share that with us, man.
Mike,
You know,
Mike, before you begin, man, real quick, I just want to say thank you. And everybody that's watching live and viewing us, you are getting a treat tonight. That's all I want to say. Y'all getting the ultimate treat tonight for all my boxing heads. You guys are getting
100%.
a treat. You are getting a freaking treat tonight.
I appreciate it, but a lot of it has to do with your guys' energy and the fact we can just, I know Steve, but the fact that I could come in with you guys and also, interact and connect. It's never, I'm an energy person, man. I'm an energy and vibe.
All energy here, man.
Of energy. That's why they have those windmills out in the desert. They're creating
Yeah.
I appreciate it. What was the because I've been hit in the head a couple of times. What was the question again?
So talk to us about the origin of War Tape and where you are right now with that.
Yeah,
I want one of them t-shirts too. I'm sorry, man.
All you got to do is send me your address. I'm one be a large, an extra large, and the other one we're gonna have to sew together 2 shirts with 4 arms. I know that.
He talked to that defensive lineman over there.
Middle linebacker and running back.
What was that?
Middle linebacker and running back.
You still play running back right now?
I could.
Okay.
Look, he plays Run My Lips right now.
Yeah, that's all right. Fine.
That's it.
I partnered with the 2 brothers, Tory brothers, William and Kai, that really had nothing to do with boxing. They were guys that made T-shirts for MMA fighters up in the Sacramento area, Northern California. And then they got this idea like, hey, let's put this on a tape by accident. And then one of my cousins knew them, and I kind of partnered with them just as kind of a consultant, just to kind of help them out. I would have access to some tape, and we just turned out to have a really good product that we've developed over the last 11 years. To us now having a worldwide brand, we sell to Amazon country, and we're now turned in standard. Like you said, when you see all those fighters, like, when you watch the fights on Saturday night with Ruiz and Ortiz, they both had War Tape. When you looked at Isaac Cruz, when you looked at Abner Mares and Miguel Flores,
man,
had War Tape. So you looked at Rayo Valenzuela, same thing. So it's a lot of the relationships. My part was forging those relationships with all the fight people because I worked with them and I knew them. But like Freddie Roach once told me, and he was probably the first big time trainer 12 years ago to use the tape. He says, Mike, I like the design, but I use the tape not because I like how it looks. I love the tape because how it protects my fighters' hands. And that's ultimately fighters' biggest assets, is their hands. And we take, tremendous pride of where we're at, sponsoring fighters and sponsoring events. And here's the one thing that people got to realize, and this is our next phase and hopefully our next chapter is, guys, it's athletic tape. It's just used in the boxing world and MMA and Muay Thai and kickboxing because it's athletic tape. It can wrap your ankles and wrap your wrist and all that stuff. It's just athletic tape. It's just a very high grade athletic tape. So, the next thing that we want to get into is being able to, have a USC or a UCLA or any Norfolk State. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because it's just that one thing. It's that positive energy that you see it. And then pretty soon it just kind of mushrooms and balloons and it's good for business.
Yeah. And you know what? As you were talking, it's funny you went there because as you were talking, I was thinking about Under Armour and how they took advantage of a niche that wasn't there. And it sounds like you guys did the same thing. And that's amazing. That's amazing, man.
And now we've built our brand up where we are a recognizable brand. We actually had an investor that wanted to come in and buy the company or buy at least half for a very significant amount. But in the end, I was like, money's great, guys. You guys know this, man. But
yes,
I do. I'm not rich, but I do okay for myself. But money's not going to change my happiness. And this, and when the investor came in, my other partners, not so much me, because my role is I knew I was useful because I'm the one that connects to all the fighters and all the trainers. So I my role in that regard you can't organically just replace that.
Right.
What I do with my partners, I don't do it for the money. The money's great. Every time we get money, hey, we're going to put this back into the company. It's sometimes the journey can be better than the destination. You ever get done with
Absolutely.
something? And you're like,
absolutely.
Man, that's a testament.
I couldn't wait to go do this. But then you realize looking forward to going to do that sometimes was way better and more climactical than actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably don't tell your old ladies, but probably like marriage. You know, the wedding's great, right? You guys are doing your old.
I got my headphones on right now.
Yeah, you guys are doing your old fraternity stomps and stuff like that. You guys are doing all that, and everybody's having a good time. But then about 6 months later, you're like, damn, I can't date anybody else next 45.
Hey, stop it. No, you telling too much truth right now.
Yeah.
Yo, listen, let me just say this. So, you know, we've been doing this for over an hour, and Mike, I don't know what your time looks like.
I'm
but listen,
good.
I know one thing for sure, bro. I would love, and I'm sure I speak for both Ose and Brand when I say this, I'd love to have you back on. You know what I mean? Like,
whatever, man.
Oh,
you guys,
absolutely.
I'll come and talk.
I'm talking next time with you sitting next to us, brother.
That's what I'm about to say. We coming to Cali, man.
person.
Whatever the next big fight is, we are there. Like,
let me ask you guys a question, because I'm thinking of doing some podcast stuff, and I'm real big on background, and like I had to redo kind of my boxing room where I used to do a lot of stuff. So all my stuff's kind of down. How do you get that thing in the background? Because I could, get my own little logo to do that where it pops up every time you talk.
Yeah, Mike, I can show you that, man. It's super simple.
The Beats Bars. What is it? Beats Bars.
Beats Bars and Bourbon.
In Bourbon.
Hey, Mike, can I give you an idea, man? Man, do that shit in the middle of a ring, man, or do it in the corner where you're doing your job, man.
Yeah, but you know what? Then I wouldn't be respecting the craft of doing it then, because I wouldn't be paying attention to what I need to be paying attention. And I would be just like those people that I'm not going to say I don't like, but I would be like those people that I would be critical of, because now they're doing they're making about themselves. Now, the one thing about, because when MMA came around, you never used to know who the CutMan were. I did. But now, because of MMA and people want to be on TV and social media, watch some of these CutMan, not the guys that I know, not the guys that I mentioned. Watch some of them. They want to be cartoon characters. They want to have a funny hat, a funny vest. They want to have like a nickname.
Right.
Yeah.
What you want to be known for?
Right.
One time, like, hey, how did you get known to be a good CutMan? It was simple for me.
I'm being good at it.
Yeah, stop cuts, stop swelling.
So, hey, Mike, let me ask you this real quick. And now, we're talking boxing, so we literally could talk to you for 24 hours straight.
Yeah, I could.
We literally could do that. And we talking
Yes,
about.
we could. Yes,
so,
we could.
Let me ask you this:
just about Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, we can talk about.
So look, I'm curious, right? Like, because there's been some funny moments in the ring, like the parachute guy that came down on a Riddick Bowe Lennox Lewis fight, the Mike Tyson ear biting thing, Andrew Galata and his million things that he went through in the ring, Oliver McCall. What is the craziest thing that you've ever seen, not only in the ring on TV, but just in general in boxing? What was the craziest thing you've seen?
I mean, some of the things you mentioned are very outlandish. I remember with Francisco Vargas, El Bandito. He fought Salido, and Vargas was a notorious bleeder. And I remember a couple of fights before, it was with one of his trainers. They used to wear that Bandito mask, right? Well, what ended up happening was, I guess one of his trainers couldn't breathe with that Bandito mask. They were doing the introductions, and he almost fainted. But what I also remember about that fight, was it was at the Hard Rock in Vegas. And the Hard Rock in Vegas is like on a stage. And I had a fight with J-Rock right before. And I went down the wrong hallway, and I couldn't get to the ring. They were doing the introductions for my fighter. But no matter no matter where I went,
He was lost.
I couldn't get to the ring. The other one was when I went to Russia with Denis Lebedev, and I worked with Bivol when he was like 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
The hotel where we stayed at was a brothel.
Damn.
I'm asking the manager, like, hey, where do we eat? He's like, well, the restaurant's here. And then he went, and like 20 girls came down this stairwell, and he looked at me like, whatever you want, whenever you want. I'm like, nah, player, I'm cool. But what I do remember is the trainer that I went over there with. I never seen him until the fight. Every time I try to get home, I'm like, what's that, man? I'm like, I know you're not in the restaurant. I know you didn't go out sightseeing because I mean,
he was in the boom boom room.
He was swallowed up in that brothel.
Yeah, you could call it beats, bars, bourbon, and brothels, man. You could add a beat. Yeah.
Hey, look, man, speaking of Bivol, you know, first of all, amazing job. I mean, personally, me, I thought Canelo, and listen, he's a true champion. He challenges himself in ways that I haven't seen boxers do.
You have to respect that.
Absolutely.
100%.
Bivol's bigger, stronger, could take his punches, and he's an exceptional boxer. And what's next for Bivol? This upcoming fight, what do you see? Are you involved in that one?
Well, I'm hoping to be. So here's the thing. I worked with Bivol very early in his career, but he has a great team from Russia.
Mm-hmm.
His usual CutMan couldn't make the trip at that time because of everything that was going on. He couldn't make the trip to the United States. So his management and trainers, I've worked with before with many fighters. So I was very, honored that they asked me, and Dimitri specifically asked for me. I spoke with them last week, trying to work it out. I'm hoping to be with him against Zurdo Ramirez. I don't ever like to take away work from the guy that's been with him majority of his career because I wouldn't like that. So I respect that if they say that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the coaches, Russians, is also going to fight in that card. They offered me to go over there. It's a long, long, long way away. You know what I mean? So the business end has to make sense for me, but I'm
True.
I'm definitely open to it. As a person, I love Dimitri. Even on the fights that I wasn't working with him before, because he trains in LA a lot, I would see him a lot, and he's a really, really good guy. The crazy, just like the J-Rock fight with Jared Hurd, I knew that Bivol was all wrong for Canelo. All the things that Canelo did that bothered other people weren't going to bother Bivol.
Right.
Never heard of him. Well, just because you never heard of him doesn't mean that he doesn't. He had a world-class amateur pedigree. He's been a world champion.
Yeah.
People get caught up, and it's easy to. You can get caught up in a fandom of anything. Like your favorite team, you can bet that you're going to bet with your heart. You see people at the Canelo fights. I mean, you got grown men with tight-ass pants and tight-ass shirts. I mean, they're like Canelo, and they're losing their mind like people did with Michael Jackson and the Beatles.
Right.
That's why Vegas makes so much money, right?
Yeah. I mean, all those bright lights and free drinks and stuff that they're giving away. They're not doing it because they're losing money.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So look, Mike, I don't want to keep you any longer, brother.
Look, one thing about me, guys, just know, don't ever apologize for one. I'm good, man. This is like me hanging out with three buddies just busting some chops, man.
All right, so fuck it. We keeping you for 20 more hours, goddammit. We keeping you.
I mean, we want to come back to a little different segment on, like silky sounds of the 70s, man. Let's do it, man.
Dope.
We doing that. We doing that.
Tell me, I want to know what you guys think. I want you guys to Google Lady. Steve, when you get off this phone, Google Lady by Teddy Pendergrass. And it's gonna live from, and I'm going to be real honest because I'm an honest dude when it comes to certain things. The first time I listened to that song, I was kind of going through something. And the song has so much, it elicits so much emotion. Now it elicits different emotions for different reasons. And it's crazy that the music can touch your soul in many ways, because there's certain songs that can also make you the same, like Frankie Beverly says, the same things that make you happy can make you. I'm a big Frankie Beverly guy, the joy and pain. That wasn't just Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. You know, they got that from
Right. They got that from somewhere else. Yeah.
But I feel the same way, like for me, like Marvin Gaye, Donny Hathaway, Gil Scott-Heron, those are like, and Stevie Wonder, those are probably like 4 of my biggest influences musically.
I mean, one I left out, man, that I listen to almost all the time is Curtis Mayfield.
There you go.
That's my guy.
A monster. Curtis Mayfield was a monster.
That's my guy.
Move on up. I listen to what is it? Bitter Child or whatever it's, you know, Running Wild. You know, I listen to that, man.
Yeah. And I got other lanes too. Like, you know, I listen to Fleetwood Mac, David Bowie. I could go down the rabbit hole, man.
I went to see Stevie Nicks a couple months ago up in the Bay Area.
Man, it had to be crazy.
It was great. I had like third row seats, man.
Shit. Of course you did, Mike. Of course you did.
You live an amazing life, man.
Yeah, Stevie Nicks was right there. I thought she was winking at me, and then I realized she probably got cataracts. You know what I mean? Because she's like 90.
It wouldn't say, what do you say? Halle Berry blew a kiss at the Barbra Streisand concert. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you're that guy, you get that love.
Hold up. One time I was at a Prince concert, and I swear he spit on me. I swear Prince spit on me.
So what they say, if you looked at Prince longer than 10 seconds, you fall in love, right?
I ain't going in love, though.
Say that's what your 10 seconds was.
Hey, listen, I went to go see Sheila E, man. I swear to goodness, man. Sheila stopped in the crowd, man, and just gave me this glare and was singing to me. I was like, oh my God. And she was singing The Glamorous Life.
And that's, you know, she's from the Bay Area. Her dad, Pete Escobedo, is a well-known Latino musician. So look, I'm working the Tom Loeffler 360 promotion fights, Hollywood Fight Night, which is a great promotion. And we have the Irish kid, Callum Walsh, that fights out of Wildcard, and he's backed by UFC. So the ring corral is very small. So I'm working the fight, and who's sitting next to me? I'm not lying. When I say sitting next to me, I mean 14 inches away is Halle Berry. Yeah. Next to Mario Lopez, who's a friend of mine, because I used to do some training with Mario. And then Dana White's right there. So we're in the middle of the fight. We're kind of all chopping it up. Let me tell you something. Halle Berry is a megastar. After the fight was over, I did not see her tell one person they couldn't take a picture. Not only would Halle Berry take a picture, she wouldn't just stand there. Every person that she took a picture with, when they got ready to pose, she put her head like on their shoulder.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I still think Halle Berry from like Boomerang.
Yeah, but that's when everybody knew she was bad, Mike. It was Boomerang. They saw the toes on the couch. When Eddie finally got his kiss, you was like, yo, she's bad.
When a
no hammer time.
When a gal can wake up, look regular, and still lead the pack, that's that ethereal beauty that very few are blessed with.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then you got to remember when he said Marquez, when he turned the lights off, and he said
Marquez.
Lights off, and then when the lights went off, he said, "Can you turn them down a little lower?"
He did. Oh man.
Yo,
all right. So look, man. Look, all good things got to come to an end at some point.
Yeah.
But we gotta have you back, bro.
Well, man, we could talk about, whatever. We could talk about anything.
Hey,
Mike, we definitely gonna do this.
Hey, Mike. Yo. Steve is sending you the info for a size XL. I need one of them, brother.
You want an XL or double X?
XL.
You know we need that double X, Mike. Don't even listen to him.
On the thing,
Mike,
right?
2X, man.
Close. You look really. You look big. I mean, I'm 6'4", 255.
Man, you're a giant to me, brother.
Okay. All right.
Hey, look.
Mike,
I think it's his camera set up.
Yeah. No, you send me the address, and I'll get you guys taken care of, man.
My God.
Thank you.
Mike, thanks again, brother, man.
But you guys are thanking me. I got to thank you because I needed to blow off some steam and vent, and this was good for me today, man.
I'm glad.
This has been amazing. This has been amazing, man. And
amazing.
Look, we are coming to LA. We coming to Vegas. We coming wherever we got to come. Because I'm a fight fan to the point where I travel to watch the fights as well, just like Steve. So like we'll be there, and when we come, we definitely hooking up with you, bro.
Yeah, I may be in New York the weekend of October 18th.
No, do that.
Holy shit.
Oh, there it is.
Open
Yeah.
it.
I'm gonna try to
Who?
confirm, with the co-main event and see where I'm at. I'm not gonna work with Wilder or Hellenius
Right now.
But a fight right below it and a couple more I may be working.
Oh, say less, man. We there. We
Okay.
definitely there.
Hey, Steve.
All right, fellas.
Steve, thanks for putting this together, brother. You're a good cat, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Hey,
Thank you, brother.
I got the kids coming in from soccer practice showing off, man. They give me no wiggle room, brother.
Hey, you're in the trenches, but you know what? My kids are 33, 31, and 26, and you know what I miss the most, man? I miss hearing them footsteps down the hallway when they were little. I miss going to their. I miss all that stuff, man. Because
Well, right now I'm tired of it, Mike.
No.
Right now I'm tired of it.
Hey, remember, man, the journey. You always remember.
Hey,
the
Mike.
journey.
Mike, you are a philosopher and a gentleman.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
I get a lot. My dad always says that I'm always stealing his sayings, and I probably am. But you know what? The great thing about tradition and about lineage is that you can carry it on.
It lives on.
100%,
Lives on, brother.
100%.
Seriously, you guys made my day, and I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Likewise,
man.
brother.
I'll chat soon. Steve.
Okay, brother.